Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. The remarks that were made by former Prime Minister Imran Khan yesterday about Maryam Nawaz have been the subject of some debate since they were made. But the issue really is a larger one as far as women are concerned, as far as women in public life are concerned. And we want to talk about the fact that what it gives, what kind of an impression it gives out, not only to a gathering of thousands, but also as a former Prime Minister making these remarks, what kind of a precedent are we setting for our women in the future who want to, who want to move out into public life, and also for the kind of environment that it will eventually give rise to. We'll be talking about, pursuant to the kind of harassment that unfortunately women face in this country every day. It doesn't matter what tier of society you are from, what what class you are from. If you're a woman and you venture out into public life, unfortunately you invariably have to deal with a certain kind of harassment. And that is something that you are born into if you are a Pakistani woman. Unfortunately, I have to say that. That is something we want to discuss today. We also want to discuss again the kind of precedent that it lays down, especially for women in politics. And it shows that there is no woman who's immune to this kind of an attack from men in Pakistan, unfortunately. We want to talk about that. We also want to talk about this back and forth exchange, the politics of intolerance, unfortunately, that is gearing up to be intolerable every day. When we look at the kind of exchanges we are seeing between major political parties, between people who have been in the highest offices of Pakistan, unfortunately, the kind of dignity one would have expected from people in such offices unfortunately seems to be missing. And it doesn't matter whether it is, what political party it's from. That kind of dignity is what we want to see. That kind of dignity is what we want to show to the world. Are we getting any closer to that? Are we getting any closer to there being some tolerance between political parties, which then can manifest into the economic side of things also? All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Dr. Abid Abbasi. Thank you so much for being with us. Abid Saab is a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us. We also have with us Siddiqul Farooq from the PMLN, Dr. Zarqa, who is a senator with the PTI, and Asiya Nasir with the JUIF. I'm going to start with Dr. Abid. Dr. Abid, unfortunately, whatever happened, and we saw the reaction to those remarks come out also. But we also, very sadly, I personally also saw a lot of defense of what was said. And it doesn't matter what political party you're from, whether you are from any political party, whether you're apolitical or not. The point is, saying that they did it doesn't make it right. And, coming from a person who is also the former Prime Minister of this country, it has its own importance. And also that, when he's addressing such a huge gathering also, how do you feel about this? What is your overall reaction to it?
Thank you very much, MAHRUKH, for inviting in your show. Yes, as you said, that it is a very, sad kind of thing. It is not expecting, nobody was expecting such kind of misogynistic sort of remarks by a former Prime Minister who is heading a party. But unfortunately, I have to say this, that even in the past, the former Prime Minister has been using very harsh language, sometimes crossing the limits, going below to the belt to the opponents. And this time he has crossed the limit, that he has made, a woman sort of such kind of remarks. But unfortunately, as you said, that a huge number of people belonging to his political party, his followers, they actually trying to justify that. And that is, I think, the adding the fuel on the fire. Uzre guna badtaraz guna. When you said that, and the grace, he should have, he should come up and he should say sorry that this has been a rhetoric while being emotional in a charged crowd, and he was the slip of tongue, whatever. But he stood by his words, and his political party, even not the common workers of the party or the supporters and the voters, but even the second-tier leadership is also defending and creating some sort of arguments to justify.
And a lot of women are also
unfortunately
defending what was said, and saying that okay, it happened to women in our party also. There's a lot that has been said about women in Imran Khan's family being the subject of that kind of those kind of remarks. That's not a defense. That's my answer to that. Whether it happened to them, whether it's been happening all over, whether it's been happening in the past, whether other political parties did it also, that's not a defense. The point is, has anyone done it in that manner, addressing so many people? Has in your experience, have you seen it happen? Unfortunately, I haven't had that kind of I haven't heard it myself.
Actually, in past such kind of things happened. But even at that time, they were massively criticized. But for instance, let me quote it in historical fact that the former minister, the interior minister, Sheikh Rashid Ahmed, who is very much known, quote unquote, for such kind of language against not only against the women only, but his opponents. He used very derogatory, very filthy kind of language, I must say, in the parliament against the former Prime Minister Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto. She was the first woman elected Prime Minister of the Muslim world. He used such kind of very dirty and very filthy kind of words against her, and after a huge time, the political parties, the major political parties, learn some lesson that there should be some space. For instance, Khwaja Asif used some sort of derogatory words against the previous human rights ministers, Dr. Shiri Mazari. That was also very much massively criticized. But if we talk about former Prime Minister Imran Khan, if you can recall that Reham Khan, she was a journalist, and when she was married to the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, she was given very much, respect and quote unquote very much support from the PTI workers and from PTI supporters. But as she parted her ways with Imran Khan, she was also put in a very, sort of hot waters, and such kind of filthy language was being used against her on social media, and she was massively, targeted by those people. Similarly,
the point is, it's not okay whether it's against Reham Khan or Jemima or against the former First Lady or against, Mariam Nawaz. It's not okay. That's the question. And the point is, why is it so difficult for our leaders to actually come out and say that, look, these remarks were made in bad taste, or they were made while, in the heat of the moment, and they shouldn't have been made. That doesn't make them any less of leaders. But we have, are we forming cults? Let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Sadiqul Farooq Sahab from the PMLN. Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, we are talking about the remarks that were made against Mariam Nawaz by the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Overall, whether it's a political party, whether it's a political leader of her magnitude or not, the point is, for women who in politics to start off with, and then women generally in public, the kind of discourse that you're setting, the kind of tone that you're setting, are you making them feel safe, or are you making it okay for men to make such remarks about them, and to promote that kind of a culture where it's okay to say this? That's my question. Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, can you hear me? I think there's a problem with the audio. Abid Sahab again. Hello, No, I don't think so. Abid Sahab, that's what I'm saying. Overall, as far as culture is concerned, the kind of culture, unfortunately, I have to say this on record, when women go out of the country, when we venture out into the world elsewhere, in most other countries, women feel safer. It wouldn't be wrong to say that, than they do in our own country. And when we equate Pakistan with the, the Islamic world, when we talk about the fact that we should, then we have to give them that kind of protection also. Then we can't say that, that women should be treated like chattel, or they should be cattle, or they should be treated in this manner, in this disrespectful manner, which unfortunately is happening.
Unfortunately, already the women in Pakistan are so vulnerable.
Right.
And if we talk about their life in various, sort of public life, whether
Right.
they are in sort of employment or whether in the industrial areas
Right.
or in the job areas, the official, everywhere women are facing such kind of patriarchal or some sort of male chauvinism or harassment. So, I mean, and the so-called feudalistic society which we are have, or perhaps the Pakistan is the only country in 257 states of the world where still the feudalism is prevailing. And this is one of the offshoot of the feudal mindset here. But when the women were progressing and they have shown tremendous kind of advancement, they have shown some sort of,
Because you say, on the one hand, the defense that invariably we see when harassment is an issue is, it comes to women, the way they were dressed, the way they conduct themselves, the way they talk, all of those things. As far as this remark is concerned, we have not seen, and I don't think anybody can make this statement or can disagree with the statement that as far as the person in question, as far as the statement is concerned, as far as Maryam Nawaz is concerned, she has not, there is the way she has conducted herself since she has come out into the public life. There can't be a more dignified manner in which she could have conducted herself. As far as her speeches, as far as her coming out into the public is concerned, as far as talking is concerned, all of those things, whether you agree with her politics or not, whether you're a PMLN supporter or not. But when you come out and you make a remark about her, what does it show? That as a woman, if you venture out into the public life, that is going to be a black mark against you. And people will target you. People like, unfortunately, the former Prime Minister, who is, supposed to be safeguarding when you are,
being the fatherly figure of the society,
nation,
of the state, yes.
and making sure that there is a secure environment and of course, as far as political discourse is concerned, there should be back and forth criticism, which should be healthy. And when will we go into that kind of style of politics where we're okay with that kind of discourse between different political parties, that doesn't go into character assassination, that doesn't go into gutter language, that doesn't go into abuse, especially for women?
Yes, it is, and unfortunately, it is being happen. And as I earlier said, that this sort of discourse, this sort of trend was set by PTI. Right. And when because we all know, being a media person, being an academician, I have also been witnessing that the people in the PTI who were criticizing the opponents going below to the belt, they were appreciated in the party meetings by the party chief. And the second, which you have said, that when the woman, yes, Maryam Nawaz is a political figure, she can be criticized, but she should be criticized politically. She should be criticized in a political arena.
Right.
That she should have not been, talked or discussed as far as her gender is concerned. Right. But unfortunately, when the male feel insecure, the first attack they made on the gender of the those ladies, and this Prime Minister Imran Khan has done.
Let me come back to you. Ji Siddiqul Farooq Saab, can you hear us?
Yes, but kindly increase volume a little.
Right. Okay. Ji Siddiqul Farooq Saab, we've been talking about the remarks that were made by Imran Khan yesterday during the Jalsa, and overall the kind of example it sets for politics in the future. Also, we have seen, as far as the followers of PTI are concerned, there's been a lot that has been said in defense of what he said, not only by the men but also the women. How do you look at it in terms of that kind of tone, the kind of, as far as abuse is concerned, as far as this kind of trolling is concerned, that is now becoming part and parcel of the political arena?
MAHRUKH, these remarks were vulgar, and there was gender discrimination, total disregard of the Islamic teachings and even morality of our society. A person who on other day at Kuhat public meeting was saying that I am teaching you your religion. In his address, he said, I am teaching you your religion. So this is the religion which he taught here. I think it is, and should be not only criticized, rejected by every member of the society.
As far as rejection is concerned, certainly, Siddiqul Farooq Sahib, you've been a politician for a while. You have seen different political parties. In terms of where we are at this time, do you feel like we're regressing? Of course, there's a lot of talk about the 90s style of politics, which was then backtracked from when the Charter of Democracy came in. Unfortunately, things at this time are at an all-time low. Would you agree with that in politics?
Of course, there were different waves and different behaviors, but things improved a lot after 90. Now, once again, it is only the person of Imran Khan who has marred that culture, who is sowing the seeds of hatred and everything, disregard of our values and especially Islamic values. So he should, when he talks of the Riyasat-e-Madina and he talks of Islam, he should present himself as an example. But he is not. So, but every member of society is responsible, and especially who is followed by so many people, he should be setting an example by his own character, by his own example. And if he's not following this, and he's not following the teachings of Islam, he has no right to claim him a Muslim leader and a leader who wants to establish Riyasat-e-Madina in Pakistan.
Overall, as far as politics is concerned, why is it so wrong? And we were earlier discussing this. Dr. Abid was also saying, I think agreeing with me when I said, why is it so wrong in our leaders across the board to sit back and reflect on what was said? And if it was said in the heat of the moment, it was said in bad taste, why is it so difficult for there to be an apology, regardless of one's politics, to set the right kind of tone? To empower women, because we talk about projects, we talk about different kind of we give incentives to women who want to work, but giving them that kind of environment which is secure, where they feel that they can work, where there is no gender bias, where there is no harassment, should be the first order of the day, instead of coming out with all these other incentives. And for a former Prime Minister of Pakistan to make this kind of statement, and then for the political parties which are now unfortunately becoming cults to defend such statements, for the women in the party to defend such statements, is something that we are seeing unfortunately and are becoming a trend.
In short, Imran Khan has proved that he has hardly any regard for anything. When he wants to say anything which he finds fit for his own ulterior motives, he utters that, regardless of whether it is against Islam or against Eastern values of society. So this should be rejected, and moreover, as far as our educational institutions, mosques, madrasas are concerned, and parents especially, they should also set an example. They should teach these values. How much respect was given by Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the women folk of the society. How much respect he gave to slaves, to even laundries, women slaves.
Siddiqul Farooq Sahib, let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Dr. Zarqa, Senator Dr. Zarqa, who is with the PTI. Can you hear me, Dr. Zarqa?
Yes, I can hear you.
Dr. Zarqa, firstly, I would like to start by asking, as a woman, how do you feel about the comments that came from your leader and the former Prime Minister Imran Khan yesterday. Regardless, and I don't want to go into whether what was said against the members of his women in his family or not. I mean, I think we can all agree that we condemn them as much as the statements that came out yesterday. But overall, as a woman who is in the public, in politics, how do you feel about those remarks?
I would like to say that this is Pakistan and the world is a patriarchal world. I remember when Mr. Nawaz Sharif sent down pamphlets about Benazir Bhutto Saiba and her mother, Nusrat Bhutto. This is history. And the way that various ladies of any stature are made a joke of, this is the society we live in. But I do find that the uproar over the Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister's comment yesterday is quite interesting, because when the Sharif clan says something, nothing happens. There is no response, there is no reaction from all of our journalists. But if so, what I infer from that is,
let's agree. On the one hand, let's agree at the outset, before as a woman, I want to talk about what's actually happening. And, I want to really talk about the issue of women being in public life at this time and facing harassment. Let's agree at the outset today that all the remarks that have been against Imran Khan's family, women in his family, that have been in bad taste, whether they've come from the PMLN followers or anyone else, have been in bad taste and shouldn't have been made. Saying that, would you agree that as the former Prime Minister of this country of not less than 3 months ago, that remark was in bad taste? Would you have the courage to agree to that today on national television as a woman?
The question is, would you also have the courage to agree that you are going to stand up for all the foul things that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said, that ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said, and for that matter, Madam Maryam Nawaz has said?
I am saying on a very public platform that those things, if they were said against his family by the followers or anyone across the board, were wrong and set a bad example for women in public.
My dear, you're an anchor. You must let your guest speak. Otherwise, and then whatever is my opinion, you have a right to state yours. But you have called me on the show. I would expect that minimum respect from a lady anchor to let a lady speak. If we cannot give that to each other, what are we expecting?
With all due respect, I'm sure you've been to other programs.
I see you carrying a bias. You're on PTV, and I know that PTV has this sort of chip on the shoulder to take the government stance and to support whoever is in power. So that is very obvious every time I am speaking on Pakistan television after this last month and a half since the government has changed. I have seen that bias coming into full force, and that is also something I would like to talk about. So, my dear Mr.
Dr. Zarka, before you continue, I feel that I must explain myself, and I hope that you've been on my program when your government was in power, and I have been equally critical of any government which has been in power, and I feel that it is very wrong to accuse any one anchor and put them in the same bucket as all of them and say that I have a bias. And I think any woman who has worked in public has to agree that the statement made by the former Prime Minister was in bad taste. And if you don't agree, then what can I say? I'm sorry, I have no comments to say.
You will have to respect other people's opinions. The only thing is that by talking like this, have we ever been able to bring better respect to women? Or is it simply because we go on to support whoever we are supporting for that particular matter of time, but it is not across the board? We have not been able to change the way men think about women, and part of the problem is women. So it has to be, if any anybody thinks that they want to bring about a change in the way men think about women, then it has to be an all-out effort. We cannot have biases. We have to go across the board. There can't be sacred cows, there can't be sacred women, there can't be sacred men. If people can talk about ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan's wife or anybody, any female related to his family, the same applies to Mr. Shahbaz Sharif. But have you heard anyone from Prime Minister Imran Khan or anyone talking about Mr. Shahbaz Sharif's wife? No, we have never talked about that. We've never brought that into the public arena. We have never talked about the women in other politicians' lives. But why are the fingers always pointing at ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan? So this is my question. Why is he singled out in everything related to women? Whereas I know, and you know, I'm a politician in the public space, we know that for a woman to get anywhere, half of the time, it's through the couch. And that is nothing which is, it's an open secret. Why is that not brought up?
Dr. Zarka, let me come back to you. Abid Saab, do you see the argument that is coming forward? You know, it is about the fact
from
that
top to bottom, everybody is putting
the only argument really is that you said it. And when you said it, was it right? Now that I'm saying it. The point is that it's wrong, and across the board it's wrong. Just nobody has the courage to come out and say, look, it's wrong. It was made in bad taste. It was made in the heat of the moment. It shouldn't have been made. That's it. That stops it, right? If you take ownership and you say that something is wrong, then you're telling the society at large, you're telling the Pakistani people at large that this is wrong. You can't do this. It's simple, you know. It's not rocket science.
They are encouraging their followers that they should carry on this practice with a more vehement, with a more, you know, sort of speed. Right. I think this it's very unfortunate that this has been from day first. If somebody criticizes that this has been done wrong, for instance, the journalists, it is their duty to criticize the actions of the government, whether they are in the favor of the people or not.
Right.
The rebuttal, the answer comes from PTI, unfortunately, that if we have done this wrong, Mr. X, Mr. Z, Mr. Y, they have also been doing the same thing.
And the worst is that when you say that this is wrong, or when you say that this, you know, the only thing that you get to hear is, well, it stems from some sort of bias. Either you are politically inclined or there's a bias.
Don't take it seriously, because there is their mantra. They have been doing the same thing. If somebody is criticizing the other political parties, then it's fine. If their criticism comes to them, they just dub people that they are biased.
For me, the point is just that, you know, this should be above your politics. Because it doesn't matter, you know, today there's been an unfortunate incident involving women. Harassment then leads to crime for women. It's not something that's, you know, something that one can just dismiss easily. Unfortunately, we have grown in an environment as women, and I want to take Dr. Zarka on this also. Dr. Zarka, overall, as far as women are concerned, let's leave the political side of things aside. You yourself said that this is a patriarchal society. Unfortunately, we have grown up in an environment where a lot that happens to women is considered, you know, normal. Whereas if you go and step out into other parts of the world, those things are not normal, and you are instantly made to feel secure. Would you agree with that?
Only partially, because the entire world is a patriarchal world. And the women are paid less, even in United States, to men for the same job. How many has America come up with a president who's a lady? No. So I think, and I have traveled all over the world, more than 80 countries. I worked with around 100 nationalities. So these things are, this is not just Pakistan, it's everywhere. Pakistan, there are different types of cultural issues that apply to our country. But I would not say that it is very different. I would say it is all a part of the same thinking, except that in Pakistan, women are, in certain parts of Pakistan, the society is even more closed. But there is respect for women. So I think instead of fighting the system, we need to understand the system we live in, and we need to find ways to change the way men think rather than fighting the system. It's an unfair world.
Being okay with the way they
It's
think.
an unfair system, and women are always at the. But I mean, if you want to do something, you still can. So we need to come out of this the victim mentality. We need to go for what we want in life and get it in spite of everything. So I think we need to support women. We need to encourage them to come out and do whatever they want to do in life, rather than, carrying on this victim mentality and this is wrong and harassment. I mean, half the cases of harassment that I have seen are either fake or there's just so much, it's never straight. So it's a minefield.
Let me come back
So,
to you. Siddiqul Farooq Saab, Senator Zarka said, and I will quote her so that she does not say that I am biased. She's saying that half the cases of harassment that she has seen are either not all, if I'm not wrong, are not all okay.
More than half.
Or more than half, or she doesn't think that there's harassment apparently in Pakistan as far as women are concerned. Please comment on this. Please give us your opinion.
First of all,
on this.
Dr.
She's saying
Zarka
that we should all be okay with it,
an
and we should
incident
forge ahead, which we should as
which
women.
occurred 30 to 32 years before. And after establishment of ARD, things were settled, values were improved, and so on and so forth. Now, is Dr. Zarka supporting what has been said by not an ordinary member of the society, by a leader of a party and former prime minister? She says that we should support women. Is this the way to support women? The way which was adopted by Imran Khan? As I have already said, he should have been role model for youth, for ordinary members of the society. That look, follow me. I am giving respect to women. And if a woman is in politics, I am giving her more respect than anybody else. Now, I think here, Hamza Shahbaz, the CM Punjab, has set an example today when he came to know about the arrest of Shiri Mazari, saying that it smelled avenge. He ordered her release forthwith. So this is an example which has been set by Hamza. Similar examples should have been set by Imran Khan as leader of a party.
Right. We also have with us Asia Nasir from the JUIF. Let me go to her. I'll come back to you. Ji, Asia, as far as the comments by Imran Khan Saab yesterday in the Jalsa are concerned, we've been talking about that. We also had with us Dr. Zarka, who's a senator with PTI. Overall, we've been debating about the kind of environment that we are unfortunately seeing in politics at this time. The kind of, abuse that is being heard back and forth. It's there regardless. And then there is the woman factor, which unfortunately, she didn't agree with me about. What would you say to that?
Thank you very much, MAHRUKH. First of all, I would like to say that the comments which IT has given yesterday in Multan Jalsa are highly objectionable. I think that the kind of language which he is using and the kind of language which he is giving trend is, I think, that's not at all in the interest of Pakistan, and he is just ruining our generation. Secondly, I would just like to say that I highly condemn this kind of language and this kind of remarks, no matter from what party it comes. And whoever party leaders are using such comments or remarks against any women, I think they are we condemn them. Secondly, I would just like to say that I think that now this sort of politics should come to an end, where women politicians and women are all the time at the sake of such comments, and women are thought to be the easiest target so that they can be targeted. So I think that this should be end, and women's chastity should not be attacked. I think this is very clear, and all the women of Pakistan should stand with it, and we should condemn that whoever or whichever party uses such remarks or comments against any political leader of any political party should be condemned.
Right, Asya, unfortunately what we are seeing at this time is that, whether the women unfortunately choose to stand with their political leaders, whatever kind of statements come from them, whether they're objectionable, whether they're plainly against women, whatever kind of remarks come, whether they're abusive or not. In terms of setting the right kind of traditions in politics, when will this end, in your opinion? You're a parliamentarian, you're in the public eye, and I don't think that even women who are in that kind of public life feel secure when they venture out, as secure as they should feel in a country which is an Islamic country like Pakistan. Asya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Ji.
Yes, I can hear you. I think that it's too unfortunate, and my experiences in the parliament and outside the parliament, I have been member of parliament for long 15 years, and since last 20 years I'm practically in politics. What I have experienced is that women, no matter to which political party they belong to, when they are competent women, and when our male counterparts, they cannot compete us, they use such tactics to harass women. I think I should call it harassment. This is harassing women,
of course.
To let them down. And I think in the parliament also, in past, we have seen that such remarks have been given to women of different political parties, and even outside. And any woman who comes out of her house with a passion to serve the community, with a passion to serve the country, I think she has to face such challenges. And I don't know that when it will going to end, because we have seen that such comments and remarks have come mostly from the most educated people, coming from the most sophisticated society of the country.
Right. Let me come back to you. Please stay with us. I'm going to go to Siddiqul Farooq Sahab. Ji, Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, as far as Dr. Zarqa is concerned, you heard her. Even Asya, of course, she's saying that, it doesn't matter what political party you come from. It doesn't matter how educated, unfortunately, the people involved in this exchange are. Whether they're Ivy League educated, whether they're, as far as education generally is concerned, it doesn't seem to have any bar, it doesn't seem to have any effect on the kind of harassment that women face, unfortunately, in politics also, and in the public eye. Generally speaking, as far as political parties are concerned, why can the political parties as a whole, across the board, not take steps to own up to that, and why can't they take steps to give a better environment, to promote a better environment for women? Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, can you hear me? I think I think I'm going to go with the same question to you. As far as political parties are concerned, when we talk about, there has been a lot of talk about dictatorships. There has been a lot of talk about, on the one hand, as far as PTI is concerned, they blame other political parties for being dynastic. But when you follow, when you follow your leader to an extent where everything wrong is also
without
right,
any logic, yes,
without any logic, and you have the kind of cult following that unfortunately we are seeing, what do you call that?
Actually, Imran Khan has used every sort of card to overcoming his failure as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. This is the fact of the matter. He used the religious card, he used the name of Riyasat-e-Madina, he used the imperialism card, the anti-American card. He criticized the women to get the diversion from his failure in the economic field, and being Prime Minister for 4 years, he drastically failed to deliver any sort of things to the people of Pakistan, what he promised for. And secondly, I want to say that the political leadership should play it's a very dangerous kind of things when you are half of the population, when the huge number of women are suffering the miseries. They forced to come out of their houses to look after their family, their children. But when the atmosphere is being created in such kind of anti-woman by the top leadership of the country, that is not an ordinary kind of thing that cannot be tolerated.
You can't, like you were saying, when you talk about, on the one hand, as you are saying, you have an economy where, there are, more
Ditching
than...
with every passing day.
Exactly, and more than half, I think even 3/4 of the population is below the poverty line at this time, where the women need to get out and work, whether you talk about them working out into the fields, whatever they can do to contribute, if they're educated, coming out to work, all of those things. On the one hand, that is a sad reality at this time. On the other hand, there is this added a harassment factor, which now we've seen, when you talk about the lowest class or the lowest tier of society, and then it extends to the highest tier. It doesn't end anywhere, and we have to come to some sort of agreement in trying to secure our women also. We can't sit back and say, you heard Dr. Zarqa. It's on national television.
It's a mindset when they have been treated like this. If we compare this, PTI phenomenon, the people who are supporting the illogical things, these sort of, this very kind of, I must say, filthy kind of things against women. If we compare with Pakistan People's Party, you might have remembered that when an alleged rapist from Sindh, Irfanullah Marwat, he met the former Prime Minister Asif Ali Zardari and he opted to join Pakistan People's Party. Both the daughters of the former President Asif Ali Zardari, Bakhtawar Bhutto and Asfa Bhutto, they stood up. They vehemently criticized that how can a rapist, how can a person who did not have respect for women come into a party whose leader, used to be a woman and the very towering woman. And President Zardari has to step back, and he did not allow that person to come in the party. To quote this incident, I mean is that a leader who is leading a political party, he is actually the torchbearer. He is actually the leader. He has to set some targets. For instance, previously, an allegation was made against Rana Sanaullah when he was in Pakistan People's Party. Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, she cancelled a meeting with him, that a person who has not respect for women, I do not want to meet even that. And the leaders had a very important role, but unfortunately, when a person is confused about his policies, when somebody is confused about the mechanism of deliverance, then he or she is using such kind of things to get the diversion, to fuel up, to give some sort of emotional, sort of feeling to his own people. For instance, that and particularly I felt when I was seeing the body language of the former Prime Minister, I felt that he feels insecure from the growing popularity of Maryam Nawaz Sharif. That's a fact. In Punjab, Maryam Nawaz Sharif is a crowd puller. She has set some example. She was put behind the bars for 4 months and nothing has so far proved against her. And she emerged as a fresh and a very popular kind of leader in Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz at the national horizon. And I felt that former Prime Minister Imran Khan did not have anything to counter in a respectful, in a graceful manner. He used this tactics to get his immature kind of quote-unquote followers to use that sexual kind of thing in a very filthy manner to attract those people who are already being attracted for such kind of things.
Right. Let me go to Asia. Asia, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I'd like your comments before we close on overall the issue of women being made to feel secure in public life, whether it's the political realm or it's otherwise any kind of profession.
Yes, Farooq, I must say that I really wanted to say that because there was time bar. Actually, I wanted to say that the things which is hurting me more is the trend which is going on social media and the followers of IK Khan, how they are defending him. I think that's the thing that is something hurting me the most, that they are defending all his follies, whatever he says, either it's moral or immoral. So I think that this is the worst trend which I have seen in Pakistan, that some leader being defended and being appreciated for doing something immoral. Secondly, I must say that these are the things, these are the, I must say that incidents which are hindering the progress of women. These are the incidents which are really not letting women to be not her access or not her mobility towards towards politics. I think that these are the things due to which many of the families, they would not like their daughters to participate in politics or become politicians. So I think that these, if we want to see inclusiveness, if we want to see or we want to ensure women's participation, I think that all the political parties and all the political leaders will have to seriously think about this, and they'll have to come to some decision that they're not going to target or they're not going to give any such comments or remarks against any women of any political party. So I think that it's very important today that all women come together and they stand together, that wherever they see that the rights of the women are violated, and if any such incidences or any leader who is really using such language or such remarks against any women should be condemned, and I think that he should be banned. We should also make a request to the Election Commission that such remarks of violence and such remarks should be banned, and such leaders who are using them, they should be banned and they should be disqualified.
Right. On that note, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for being with us.
Just one sentence. It's a good suggestion that the Supreme Court, the concerned, sort of judicial body, they should also look into the matter. This is a matter of common interest. The 50% population of the country being targeted.
Right. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Abid Abbasi, Sadiqul Farooq Saab, Asiya Nasir, Editor Dr. Zarqa. Thank you for joining us. As far as the issue is concerned today, during her press conference, Mariam Nawaz, when she spoke, she said that she has a platform and she has a status where she can talk about this. She can agitate on this, and unfortunately there are numerous women who can't, and there are also women who feel threatened or frightened because of their own position in their own families, in the kind of culture that they live in, to talk about any kind of harassment, to talk about any kind of abuse that they may suffer. They feel threatened because they want to work, they want to be in the public eye, and yet, if they can't take voice, they don't have that kind of voice to talk about that kind of harassment or that kind of abuse. Minimizing it is something that's closing your eyes to reality, saying that it exists, but let's go ahead and let's shrug it off and move on and ignore it, and you'll excel anyway, is perhaps not the way to deal with it as a society. To deal with it as a society is to agree that it exists, to condemn it, and across the board, and to move forward and say that it's wrong and it's not going to be okay, whether it's your mother or your sister or anybody's mother or anybody's sister. And I hope that as a society, as political parties, we can do that. That's my hope as a woman. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.